Hi, pursuers. Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your host, Naz Kazimi. We are jumping right into the recap of the Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Episode 11. This episode starts off with Tia sponsoring a polo event. It makes total sense. Polo, I feel, is not only an English sport, but a rich person sport. It just seems on brand and on theme for Tia to be sponsoring it. And her brother Daisy is there to help as they grew up in this environment together, playing polo and just amongst these equestrian type people. The ladies start showing up as they're all going together because I guess Tia had rented this Sprinter van, and so the ladies can have appies and drinks prior together to going to the event rather than just showing up each individually. Now, the car ride was sort of interesting. They all started to chat about Stacey not being there because it seemed like Stacey was the only one that was not there. And of course, considering how Stacey had just treated Tia so poorly on the last episode during her cannabis kind of cannabis opening, and just literally abruptly kicked Tia out. It was just so rude and classless. I'm on Tia's side for disinviting Stacey. So she actually did say Stacey was disinvited. And then she says, I came into this group and I'd heard so many different lies about Stacey and I tried to give her a chance. And it seems like I was proven wrong. Like she just proved exactly who she was. The only person that really came to her defense was Jazzy. And then Ashley tries to chime in and say, just so you know, the only reason that Stacey confirmed your wedding is because she found out that me and Wendy were going. And Jazzy chooses not to believe that. She's like, I don't believe that. I'd had many talks with Stacey prior to you and Wendy confirming. You know what? Let Jazzy believe what she wants. Just like how Tia kind of had to do her own and kind of get her hands dirty to really see how Stacey is. Jazzy can do the same. And it's not that I'm defending Stacey, but I do know that different people bring out different parts in you. So maybe the other ladies just trigger Stacey so much enough that Stacey has to really shield herself and put up this wall. And it's the only way that wall is up is through lies. Whereas maybe with Jazzy, her walls are down a little bit more. So it's just a little bit more of a different relationship. Whatever it is, I can understand how one person has a different experience with someone in the group. But I also understand, on the other hand, how 10 people are just trying to look out for this one person. You know what I mean? And then now it becomes a battle of, well, sheesh. In this case, she said. So it's just time will tell, right? Now, the event was pretty good. They did do the Black National Anthem, and surprisingly, it was good and not terrible, but it was just kind of a cringy, embarrassing moment. I almost couldn't look at the TV screen. I was like, oh my God. Now, this part is funny. The VP, or a broker, I guess, he asks if they want to stomp the divots, the divots, which means you fill the holes in the field. And even Wendy was like, don't they hire people to do this? Because it's why do we have to do it? But then Tia chimes in, which, hey, you learn something new every day. And she says, this actually is part of the experience. The people that watch it, the audience get out and they go fill the divots. And it's just kind of you chat, you kind of break the ice, you become more comfortable in the environment. I think that was kind of cute. And again, you just kind of learn something new every day, right? Now there was some it now jumps into Angel. Okay. Angel and Bobby are moving out of their home and they're moving back to Colorado. Now, I want to be clear as to what I saw when I watched this. Angel was talking to Bobby and she said, we have to move out. Then in her confessional, she says the dates were wrong. She had said certain dates, but hadn't extended those dates. So the owner of the home didn't realize that they might extend and had booked the house after they were supposedly going to be late. Cool. That happens all the time. Not a big deal. Kiarna obviously comes over to help. Kiarna is one of Angel's best friends. They've known each other for 20 years, so she comes over to help. And then Tia comes over too. Tia, I love that Angel and Tia have this relationship because they're both new and I love both of them. Their personalities are great. And Tia just seems really genuine. She's also a realtor, so she's like, maybe I can help you guys, etc. Here's where I find it weird. I don't know why when it comes to these ladies, it's so weird that this has happened. Giselle didn't even own a home until like 3 years ago. So renting, Airbnbs, these types of situations shouldn't be that awkward. But anyways, Tia's like, I can help you guys, etc. Why are you even going back to Colorado? It makes sense for me. Like, they don't want to put any more money. Just because they have lots of money doesn't mean that they have to just keep throwing money down in rent. You know what I mean? Who cares? Like, they want to go and they want to come back when they're able to finally move into a house. This experience is probably traumatizing. Even I say, I don't even want to rent anymore. Like, I'm living in a place in Mexico right now. I don't even want to bring my stuff here until I know for sure that I'm going to stay here. Because I'm so traumatized from having to pack up, put my stuff in storage. Just imagine if I bring all my stuff here and then I have to go take it all back. I'm even afraid of buying things. So I'm like, how am I going to get everything back? I'm going to have to make 2 trips by plane. I have to pack up the car somehow and make sure that I get everything back. It's traumatizing when you rent because you just never know when the owners are going to decide to sell or now they want to move in their family. And Vancouver's rental market is crazy and hot, and Mexico, there's always places available for rent. People will wait until you come. They'll be like, don't worry, I'll wait to rent it out to you. In Vancouver, like, you're fighting with 50 other families to get a place, So yeah, you're a bit traumatized when you come into another environment. So I totally can imagine how they're feeling, Angel and Bobby. And like, luckily the place that they were staying at, the Airbnb, was fully furnished, but like, you do accumulate a lot of stuff because you don't bring all your stuff with you right away. You're just kind of like, okay, well, maybe the kids do this, do that. Before you know it, you've pretty much bought a whole house all over again. Now you have to pack that up and take it back with you. So I don't see there's anything weird with that. In fact, it's completely normal for someone like me who's a renter. But when Tia left, Giselle called her and invited her to this kind of like 4th of July. Giselle was inviting Tia to this kind of 4th of July, like Beyonce's in town, cowboy theme event. And Tia's like, thank you so much for the invitation, etc. They're like catching up. And then Giselle was like, oh, well, where were you? She's like, oh, actually, I was just helping Angel move because Angel's house is double booked and now she has to leave. And now here we go, Giselle, the 50-year-old in her 50s, the matron of the show, causing drama because she thinks that just because she's had 10 million downloads on freaking whatever the hell, Reasonably Shady, her show, she's allowed to like make fun of people, okay? I just want to say 2 things can be true at the same time. Your 10 million downloads does not equate you to be like the best person. Just because Carlos King says that you're the force multiplier doesn't make you by any means the people's favorite. Okay, Giselle, like, you're only as good as your last episode. And I just don't understand. Like, you've just never really been good in my eyes. You always do. Even the flashbacks when she sat down with Monique, you could see Giselle's just like, at her age too. And she has 3 daughters. She doesn't even have 3 sons. She has 3 daughters. And this is the type of woman that she acts like. And you can sit there and tell me all day long this is just for the show. I think that this is her real life. I think this is exactly how she is in real life. And that is freaking scary. The only time I seen Giselle be authentic and vulnerable and real was when her father passed away. That's the Giselle that I loved. I don't like this Giselle at all. I don't care if she's moving the storyline along. Do it in a different way. I feel the reason that they pick on Angel so much is because Angel hasn't reached out to any of them individually. She only shows up in the group settings. She maybe will spend time with Kiana alone or like Tia, but those people have actually put in the effort. Kiana, she's known, and I feel like Tia puts in the effort with all of them. But Giselle wants someone that's going to kiss her ass, and Angel's not like that. Wendy wants the same, because Wendy even said, she said, well, I was hazed. Now it's your turn to be hazed. But if Wendy's kids are ever hazed, she's not going to like that, Wendy and Giselle want ass kissers, and Angel's not an ass kisser. Therefore, she gets picked on. That's my theory. Okay? Anyways, now Giselle, now she's getting into with Tia on the phone. Well, I feel like Angel got kicked out of her place. Says kicked out. Not even double booked, not even using the correct terminology. Got kicked out because she didn't think the show, so they're breaking the fourth wall here. She didn't think that Potomac would be filming for this long. Giselle is allegedly stating that allegedly Angel came to Maryland, Potomac, Maryland, just to film the Real Housewives of Potomac, and she thought that the filming would end at a certain time. That's how long she got home for, and then they'd be back off to Colorado. Tia tries to defend, and first of all, Tia knew, she's like, shit, I shouldn't have told Giselle anything. See, Tia's now learning. Without telling the camera or making it all about just Giselle, she's like, I just shouldn't have said anything, you know? She's taking the accountability on herself. But anyways, it has nothing to do with that, in my opinion, just to come on the show. I think Angel has enough means and everything else to not have to be on the show. I don't even think production would allow her to come on the show, even if she was back and forth. And Tia does defend Angel and say her roots are in Maryland. Like, they have family here. There's a community here for them. The only reason Colorado worked for them was because they opened up their outdoors kind of country sort of sanctuary type thing where they take people through a meditation retreat. And that's worked for them. Like, when Bobby's not in season, that works for them. But their family is here. So it just made sense for them to come back. And sure, I mean, this wasn't mentioned at all, but me, Nas, just saying, sure. And then the show falls on their hands and they're like, well, sure, we're looking for a house here anyway, so I don't mind being on. Giselle thinks that she's production, but she's not, because if production really didn't want someone that didn't live in Maryland full time, they wouldn't have got Angel on. There's so many other women that they could have gotten on. So, aka production, aka Giselle, just needs to take a step back, okay? And be the maternal force multiplier that the show needs, not be the pot stir that the show doesn't need, okay? So here's Giselle throwing out these alleged theories that Angel actually doesn't want to move to Maryland. She just came out here and rented an Airbnb for the time that she thought that she would be on the show, but she didn't extend the lease because she forgot or whatever the reason is, and now she's getting kicked out of her place. Like, Giselle just wants to make it as, like, you know, low class as possible and say words like kicked out instead of like using the word double booked. I feel like Giselle would come across so much more. People would be like, oh yeah, she's got a point. If she just used different words and not be so mean, you know? But because she's so mean and she uses all these words and she's really trying to ice out Angel, haven't you learned anything? When you try to even by Stacey's situation, when you try to ice out people, the audience will feel bad for the person that you're icing out. Okay? Anyways, we move on. Stacey and Kiana meet up for lunch. They hash out their differences. Looks like they're moving forward. It was kind of boring for me. Like, their whole sort of... I find it weird when people don't like each other, but they can sit through a lunch with each other. Now, I know that it's Housewives, and I'm going to play two teas in a pod here. I know that this is what production makes them do, but it's just kind of, like, interesting, you know? Now, following this, Angel has also invited everyone to her home in Colorado for an outdoors meditation, kind of cowboy retreat, okay? This is brought up because Giselle, Ashley, and Wendy are all out to eat, and Giselle's sort of having like this week of cowboy themed events. Like I said, Beyonce being in town, plus July 4th, etc., etc. And when they mention, oh yeah, we're going to Colorado to visit Angel's home or this retreat that she has, Wendy decides to chime in and says, oh yeah, someone told me that allegedly someone went to her realtor friend and said, I want a house that's going to look like $50,000, but I'm only going to pay $2,000 to $3,000. Well, listen here. I also want to live in a house that looks like it's worth $10 million, but I don't want to pay $50,000 a month. I'm sorry. I don't care how rich I am. I would never. But who doesn't want their house to look like it's worth $10 million? Like, Wendy is so dumb. Okay? I think the woman that is on trial right now for fraud needs to stop chiming in when she only talks about money. Just clock it, you guys. Go back to since Wendy has been on the show. Everything in her life revolves around money. Look at her mom. Everything in her mom's life. They don't talk about anything else but money. it's scary that there's people like that out there, you know? So Wendy's trying to say, like, I don't get why Wendy thought that this would be something bad. I'm even sure billionaires want their home to look like it's made out of gold. But you think Elon Musk is going to be paying those prices? And he's a billionaire. He doesn't care. Look at Kim Kardashian's house. It looks like it's made out of chalk. She's a billionaire. They want it to look a certain way, but they're also still going to be finding deals, so they're not paying that amount. Like, that's how people stay rich, Wendy. Oh, I just cannot with her and Giselle. I really cannot. Even Ashley, like, they're like the oldest people on the show. Wendy probably would love to hear that. Yeah, I'm the only. No, girl, you look old. Okay? But Giselle and Ashley are the oldest people on that show, and like they're the most hated. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Those three are like the most hated. Anyways, let's move on. So now the event that Giselle has organized has begun. This is the last sort of scene in this episode. And everyone shows up. It's very similar to a potluck. Everyone kind of brings a dish, plus the kids are there. It's very casual. I like events like this. I have a kid, so I understand. It's nice to see everyone with their kids. Timo actually shows up with Stacey, and everyone's happy to see him. And then you hear Wendy in the background, "That's Timo!" You're not from Atlanta, girl. Like, calm down. "That's Timo!" Oh, I just hate that voice. Like, I have to mute every time she comes on. Like, I just put the what are those, the captions on, because I can't with that voice. And those eyes, like, she has Adderall eyes, you know, like Wendy has Adderall eyes. I want to say cocaine eyes, but like I know she doesn't take cocaine, so I'm just saying, like, you know, when the eyes are like huge. Like, the only time I didn't see her with Adderall eyes is when she went to Eddie's event at the cannabis opening, probably because she had smoked something or perhaps even eaten something, so the eyes kind of like chill out a little bit. But those Adderall eyes are intense, you know. The only people that are late were Jazzy and Angel and Bobby. Of course, Jazzy doesn't get shat on, but Angel and Bobby will get shit on. Now, it's been a stressful week for them. They had to suddenly get up and move. They didn't realize all this happened. I sometimes will make big mistakes like this where I think that I book something, or I forget to, or I wait too long to look into it, and then before you know it, the time is up and I have to go, or I'm not able to like add an extra ticket, or like the timeline has passed. And it happens, you guys. It's called being human. I'm sorry that Giselle, Ashley, and Wendy are the most perfect well, clearly not, past the holy hole. And, you know, Ashley and her marriage, and Wendy and her indictments, or alleged fraud, whatever, insurance fraud. I want to say charges or indictments. I don't know how you say it in the US, but clearly they're so perfect. They don't make mistakes, right? I just cannot with them three, you guys. I cannot. Like, it's just so, like, it's a form of petty that's just beyond. It's just a form of petty that is beyond. And especially at their age. And here's the thing about all of them. They should be the most respected on the show. They should act the most respectable. Wendy being she's a professor with all her degrees. Giselle being that she does have a very successful podcast. One of the first housewives to be on the podcast platform with 10 million, and also with the 10 million downloads. But they act so petty. It's ridiculous to me. Like, why when you have all these achievements, you need to like stoop yourself down to this level? If they were smart, they would get other people to do the work for them, really, or just let it come out themselves, and then they can chime in, you know. But when they're the ones that have to become so petty to bring it up, it's just, I don't know, it's not a good look. I just find it sad that when it comes to Angel and Bobby, no one is extending their compassion to them. Maybe they're just dealing with stuff that they just cannot bring to the camera right away. You know what I mean? Like, I know when Kiana called Bobby and he's like, well, we'll get there when we get there. Obviously, let me play two T's in a pod here. Production had something to do with editing it out somehow to make it look like it was a lot more aggressive than it was. But I'm just really disappointed into the cast that no one's extending compassion for them. And again, I'm the most disappointed in Giselle, Ashley, and Wendy, as they've all gone through this. They've all been in the hot seat. They've all made mistakes, but yet, and they've all been hated, the most hated on the show, but yet they cannot extend any compassion to Angel. But again, like I've said, I know that it comes down to because Angel doesn't kiss their ass. Angel doesn't call and set up one-on-one time with them because look at all the shit that she has to deal with. Again, they just think that she has to be there smooching their butts. And that's the only way that they won't rip on her or haze her or whatever this is called. That was pretty much the end. It's a to be continued. I know that in the previews they show that they're like really shitting on Angel for her adventure that they bring. I would love to go to that place in Colorado and just have an outdoors meditative retreat. It looks so awesome and just relaxing. And I really do love Angel, and I hope that somehow the season turns around for her, or she just doesn't get discouraged and she stays on the show, because I think that she is great. And I love her and Tia, and I think that they're the best additions to Potomac in a long time. And I know that we have yet to see Karen come back, so there's a lot more to look forward to on the show. But yeah, this wasn't the best episode. But I mean, I guess you just needed sort of something filler like this to move it on to the next. So that's it, guys. That is all for Potomac this week. Okay, pursuers, we are moving on to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 14. This was a good episode. I kind of find it like a little bit of a filler, but of course, like, what do I know? Like, they're in Greece, and it was melodramatic. I mean, like, things happen, but it wasn't like crazy as usual, you know? So it starts off with it's Mother's Day in Greece. So honestly, though, one thing I have to say, like, the food just looks so fresh and amazing. I don't know if it's just the ambiance, the colors, everything. It just looks spectacular. So it's Mother's Day in Greece. The ladies are all saying Happy Mother's Day to each other as they're, like, waking up. I actually agree with Heather that a Mother's Day with no responsibilities is nice and well-deserved. A lot of the ladies are saying that they're not there with their families, their kids aren't there. That's understandable, but at the same time, like, usually when there is a Mother's Day, like, the moms are still momming, you know what I mean? And although, like, you miss your kids, to just have nothing to worry about and no responsibility, like, that's kind of a fun thing, you know? It's a nice thing. It's a very well-deserved thing. So I agree with Heather there. Then Angie and Heather notice that the friendship commandments have been posted on the wall. And then Bronwyn explains to them it's like a reverse sticker chart. So if you have the more red marks, then you lose. But if you have less red marks, Bronwyn's going to buy you a prize. So it's kind of like just a game that they're playing. Because remember, when they were at the Boston Tea Party, they had a whole bunch of commandments that they're not going to move forward with. Now, Brittany also points out, because all the ladies are woken up or sitting together by the pool, except, of course, for Meredith. And Brittany points out that it's light and bright and there's one person missing. But no one says anything. And obviously, we all know who Brittany was alluding to. So Brittany quickly takes it back. She does not want to be blamed for anything. Especially now that her and Meredith have kind of come to a more, I would say, safer space with each other, you know. Anyways, once everyone has kind of calmed down, still no Meredith, they split up the groups. And they say that, well, Angie splits up the groups. Angie, Lisa, Bronwyn, and Mary are going to go ride donkeys. Angie makes a joke and says asses for asses. And you know what? Lisa's actually being a good sport about it. She's having a good time, laughing. I'm happy for her. Meredith, Whitney, Brittany, and Heather are going to go to a cooking class. Whitney says that that's a good idea because sometimes when it's just Meredith and Lisa together, Lisa can back up Meredith a lot, or like voice or be her voice a lot more, and kind of breaking up that alliance will allow for a more vulnerable Meredith, and maybe Meredith is able to like finally get what's off her chest without feeling like someone else will just say it for her, you know? Love that Mary's the voice of reason. She kind of goes and finds Meredith and tells Meredith, listen, we need to kind of like get to the bottom of what's going on here, or else there's no moving forward. So Try to put on your big girl pants and let's get this going, you know? Moving right along, they arrive at their cooking class. Meredith obviously leaves. She's just not happy. In the car ride on the way there, Brooks does call, and then people were getting mad at her for taking a phone call. I don't think they were getting mad at her for taking a phone call. I think what had happened is she was in a conversation with Heather. And I mean, damned if you don't. Like, if she didn't pick up the phone call, she would not miss out on the opportunity of talking to Brooks, even for a few seconds, because she does end up being upset that she didn't stay on the phone longer with him. And had she not picked up, she would get zero opportunity to talk to Brooks. But Brittany and Heather were both kind of saying, what the hell, like, acting weird about her answering the phone. It's okay, like, poor Meredith, like, again, damned if you don't. Like, it just so happened, like, the timing of the phone call was at the worst time. But at the same time, like, they do have kids. The kids are, messaging them. They want to have a conversation with them, the parents, their moms. They're not able to see their moms on Mother's Day. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, they're really just picking on Meredith for the littlest thing. But that obviously upset Meredith. So when they do arrive to the cooking class, Meredith doesn't even go in. She kind of goes for a walk on her own. And I think that's fine. If you need a few minutes to debrief so that when you come together as a group, you don't have like a sour attitude or you're not kind of like disturbing the peace. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The girls that are on the donkey ride are going to join them later, so they're hoping that by that time Meredith will have joined them too. Giovanni, who I knew was half Italian because the name Giovanni, remember I mentioned that I grew up with Italians? He's kind of like their host. He's greeting them, pouring them drinks, wine. And then they meet their George, their chef, whose name is George, who's teaching them how to make Greek moussaka. And eventually the donkey riding ladies show up. And by the time the donkey riding ladies show up, Meredith has shown up as well. But when Meredith did arrive, George did notice that she wasn't feeling well. Not George, Giovanni, the host. He goes up to her and he's like, is everything okay? Can I help you with anything? He offers her more wine. She was crying. She's like, I think it's just a compilation of everything that had happened to her. And it just came out like the straw that broke the camel's back. Or the donkey's back, was that she couldn't talk to Brooks, but I think it was just a compilation of everything that has happened to her up until this point with the group, She's just not in the best headspace. But he was so sweet, like total Greek Persian vibes in that moment, like just extending a hand, making sure everyone's okay, not just ignoring her, wanting to make sure that she has a good time. And by the time the other ladies arrived, the ladies that were riding the donkeys, Mary is the first one to ask if there's been any resolution, but literally there has been none. So then the other ladies chime in, and finally Lisa says, you know what, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and the bottom of it is that Whitney is not happy with Meredith, and Meredith is not happy with Whitney. And it's at that point that Whitney actually apologized to Meredith for calling her quote-unquote alcoholic and pill-popping, and finally it seems that there's a step in the right direction because Meredith accepts the apology, and they seem to have a good time moving forward. Now they go back to the house and they hang out by the pool. They eat food. Finally, Meredith is opening up. She has this cool outfit on that she kind of like takes off and like throws it off, and it just kind of looked cool, because it looked like she was going to a meeting, but then it was actually like a bathing suit outfit, And then after they do a little bit of swimming, they're talking about what's the worst thing that they did when they were growing up. And Meredith chimes in and says that she was the youngest out of her siblings and they threw a party. And everyone's waiting for this like climatic moment of what broke at the house. And she's like, we broke a dish. And her mom doesn't know up until this point. Everyone was like, And Brittany's like, wow, you broke a dish. It was weird coming from Brittany because Brittany and Meredith have tensions, but at the same time, it was so funny the way Brittany said it because, Brittany's like so, like the ditz of the whole group. And then Bronwyn says Meredith is going to be the grandmother who says, like, I was on a plane once and I totally overreacted. Like, that's her, like, story of when she was, like, younger. And I literally LOL'd out loud at that. Like, Bronwyn nails it on the head with that. Then finally Angie's like, guys, start getting ready. We're going to go out tonight. And Meredith, if you wear like a suit like you're going to a meeting, I'm going to like hurt you. So they're all getting ready to go out to the Greek nightlife. The Sprinter van driver, Nico, I feel really bad for that guy. Like, I feel like he's hurt. First, it was a 10-1-2 conversation. Good thing his English is not like, like I speak Farsi, but my first language is in Farsi or Persian, I guess you could say. So when people joke in that language, I don't really understand the jokes, like the jokes, it makes no sense to me. Because it's not my first language, so I don't get the witty and the nuances and the sarcasm sometimes when it comes to stuff like that. So I feel like Nico, like, there's these so inappropriate or like outlandish conversations that are going on, but he doesn't really maybe understand how vile and disgusting it is, like talking about shitting and pooping and poor guy. But I feel like that would be like, remember the Sprinter driver in the whole Kathy and Lisa Rinna incident with when they left Kim Wasabi? Like, might be an interesting job, Anyways, then they get into this heated argument because Brittany says that she trademarked the phrase high body count hair. I agree with everybody else that, like, and you can tell that Angie's so annoyed by this. Angie's the one that said it. It's Angie's phrase. It's not that it's the first time that it's been said, but Angie's the one that said it, that made it popular, like, and it's becoming something. Why would Brittany go and trademark it? Brittany is so weird, you guys. And then she's saying, like, you're jealous of my hair, Angie. Like, Brittany's face doesn't even look good. I'm sorry, Brittany. Like, your own kids don't even like you. Like, what is Angie jealous of? Like, I'm just so confused. I don't mean to be mean, but you're being mean to Angie, so I'm going to have my girls back, okay? But with that being said, when they get to the restaurant, Whitney's trying to kind of like simmer it down. Like, you guys, let's not fight, etc., etc. Mary is just always into the food, and that's what I love about Mary. Me being a binge eater, I love that Mary always loves the food. But then they start arguing about this whole high body count hair thing. Like, Angie's really annoyed, and I can tell. I've been in that position that Angie's been in when you think of something smart and then other people start saying it. And I'm sure I've talked about this in many episodes before where you feel like people are copying your style. But one thing about Angie that Brittany doesn't have is, like, Brittany can copy all the words and trademark everything, but she will never have Angie's swag and wittiness and quick to say things. And so maybe it's actually Brittany that's jealous of Angie, hence why she quickly went and trademarked that word, that phrase, because she's like, oh my God, that's actually so good. Angie was so clever. I need to keep that. You know what I mean? Then that way I'll become something. So let's look at it that way. But anyways, I'm not too sure what's going on. Bronwyn is up Meredith's behind. I don't know where this is coming from or why. But it's probably because Meredith spoke up and was like, I understand what you're going through, Bronwyn. And it's not the end of it with this group. I swear to God, since that moment, Bronwyn has been... You know how a Demogorgon looks like in Stranger Things? She's been sprouting a Demogorgon-looking flower up Meredith's butt. And she's just stuck there. So anyways, that's how the episode ends. It wasn't really like too, like I said, climatic. It was more like just kind of like piecing the puzzles together and getting the flow going. But I'm sure there's going to be more climatic events coming. With that being said, that was the end of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Can't wait for next week. Seems like it's going to start getting a lot more interesting. I think we're heading into the last 2 or 3 episodes because I believe the season ends on the note that they're in Greece. That's what I'm predicting anyway. So with that being said, guys, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and I will catch you for the next couple recaps, which will be Southern Charm and Beverly Hills.